Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Sybiz Vision CRM Masterclass. And we'll dive straight in. And essentially, what we're covering today, I should just say that we do have a mix of attendees. There's a bit of a split as to people that are currently using Sybiz Vision CRM, and there's also quite a number that are wanting to have a bit of a look and get to understand a little bit more and perhaps add it into the mix for their organizations. So, we'll talk a bit about where Sybiz Vision CRM sits and give it a bit of a positioning for you, just so you can sort of understand, uh, I guess, some of the design decisions behind Sybiz Vision CRM. We'll give you a functional overview, then we'll have a separate look into the sales and marketing functionality and the sort of relationship management. So not just CRM, but suppliers and even internal things can also be managed within the Sybiz Vision CRM. We'll touch on automation, which can really make the CRM and the rest of the system sing, and have a look at reporting and why that's a little bit different with CRM, where we tend to look at things like grids and pivots or analytics rather than traditional reports. So feel free to ask any questions via the chat, and we'll try and answer those in the background again. Thanks for putting the questions when you registered. We've been sure to cover that off in the presentation. And yeah, just a point as well. We've just been a little bit lazy with the formatting. We're just using the out of box formatting rather than prettying things up in the demo. So you can make your CRM experience a lot prettier by changing fonts and things like that. So it's just if you did get to the point of just trialing the software, it's going to be more familiar to you if you've seen it sort of unformatted. So with that, let's talk about where Sybiz Vision CRM sits. So I should just say straight off the bat, we don't aspire that Sybiz Vision CRM as a CRM product is going to be best in breed and do everything under the sun that every other CRM package combined across the world does. That's not the case. We've just taken some key functionality and put that into the Sybiz Vision platform. So in the breadth of functionality that you'll see typically across CRM, there are obviously different components to different CRM packages. And the best way to sort of think about where Sybiz Vision CRM sits is that we only want quality information coming into your ERP database. It's going to be absolutely stupid if you just bring in sort of 10,000 email lists and have all this poor quality information come into your core system, just clutter things up and create a lot of noise. You don't want that in your main finance system. So essentially, the sort of pre-marketing stuff, like if you're doing mass marketing, so email campaigns and things like that, social media, sending stuff out to just lists of people and hoping for the best. That stuff you do outside of Sybiz Vision. So from a sales perspective, if you get to the point where, yes, this sales lead looks like it is going to be worth developing, that's when you chuck it in Sybiz Vision CRM. Up until that point in time, keep it in your email system or wherever else um, that the lead is originated from, or rather the contact. And then once you think it is worthwhile putting through a sales process, then chuck it into your Vision database and take it through there. So in that sense, it should only be sort of like your sales ready leads that come in to. That's not to say that you're going to win the deal, but it's like, okay, this is someone who maybe contacted us via Facebook. We've had a little back and forth to see that they're not a bot and they are keen on the services or products that we provide. So let's start sort of taking them through that process. And yeah, so essentially through that sales process, you can manage your opportunities and track their progress, etc., report on them, convert them to quotes, which could take the form of sales or service quotes or job estimates, which we'll look at a little bit later. And then obviously from there, hopefully you get the purchase orders and win the deals. And then the relationship management, not just customers, but you can record a lot of information within the system that just helps rather than trawling through, did I send that in an email to someone? If it's in your system, you don't have to worry too much about yeah, digging through inboxes and things like that. You've got nice structured, organized data that makes sense within your system. And yeah, so that's hopefully gives you a bit of a indication that we're not trying to be all things to all people all of the time with our CRM in Sybiz Vision. It's taking, I guess, higher quality interactions and handling those, leaving the lower quality, higher volume stuff for outside of Sybiz Vision CRM. So from a functional overview point of view, there is, I guess, the sales and relationship functionality. So from a sales perspective, we have campaigns, which are optional, sales processes, which are optional, leads, which are also optional. And if you want to just manage opportunities, you can. And we'll talk about that as to how those different components interact with some visuals in a moment as well. And then from a relationship management or service point of view, you have case files. And there's also across both the sales and the case files areas activities, and they are split into five different categories there. We'll obviously have a look at each of those as we go. Talk a little bit about the defaults in CRM and templates, and also reporting. So that's what we'll be covering. So from a sales marketing perspective, yeah, it's a fairly busy diagram on the right-hand side, but it just gives you an overview as to how or the options that you have in using the sales and marketing functionality within Sybiz Vision CRM. So um, you can just keep it really, really simple and just have an atomic opportunity. So it's not linked to a campaign. You're not going to develop it through a lead through to an opportunity. It's just, yep, you've got someone who's pretty hot to trot, and they don't need to go through an elaborate sales process. You just want to sort of log the opportunity in your system and use that to coordinate communications and follow-ups and things like that. That's all well and good. And you can make it more complex in terms of the breadth of functionality, where you can create a campaign, you can generate leads against that campaign. Those leads can be attributed to sales process to develop those leads through to opportunities following a process with probabilities assigned, some conversion controls. So your initial contact of a lead, uh, you may not want something in that stage to be converted to an opportunity. You want there to be more development before it gets converted to an opportunity, so you can sort of let the system know that it's only leads at a certain stage that can be converted to an opportunity. And then obviously once you're successful with the opportunity, you go through to the sale. So if you're not familiar with the lingo, basically leads and opportunities, some organizations see them as one of the same, and if that's your organization, then opportunity is all you need to worry about. Other organizations kind of draw a bit of a line to say, okay, leads are kind of looked after by the marketing team, and opportunities, they're the ones that the sales team look after. So there's no wrong or right reason, and even in a single organization, you can have different campaigns. That you might have a very structured campaign that's uh, being managed via a campaign with leads and opportunities, and then you may have some ad hoc campaigns where you're not worried about setting up a structure. You just want to say, okay, if the phone rings and someone's keen, we'll create an opportunity and take them through the sales process in a simplistic sense. So with the activities as well, you can choose to link the interactions as activities within the sales and marketing area within Sybiz Vision as well. So we'll cover activities a little more generically a little later, but on with the sales and marketing side of the presentation. So campaigns are generally something that you have as a time-limited marketing initiative, and you want to separately measure. So it could be an advertising campaign. You might be doing a radio blast and want to see how that goes with a particular promotion. It might be a trade show. It could be an email campaign. There's no wrong or right reason. You may see a campaign as just saying, okay, well, we've been doing Google AdWords for the last 3 years, but we want to do split it into quarterly campaigns. Yep, you can do that. It's entirely up to you what you designate as a campaign. It's just essentially looked at as something where you want to measure similar things all together based on the source of the lead or opportunity. So, um, And yeah, you'll likely add some custom fields for your campaigns as well, depending on what you are measuring. So the actual campaigns themselves don't have a lot of data associated with them, but you can expand that out with custom fields. And yeah, obviously your reporting can be campaign based as well. So sources is another um, mechanism to track. So if you weren't interested in measuring individual campaigns, you could just say one of my sources is campaigns. I'm not going to specify which one's which. Another source might be search engine traffic. Another might be cold call, customer referrals, all different types of sources that you could have. Again, that's for you to control. And whether you want to use them with campaigns or not, again, that's up to you. So um, that's the sources. And then from a leads and opportunities perspective, as I said, you can either use both leads and opportunities if you want to split that sales process, or you can just go straight to opportunities. And if you want to use sales processes, you can have sales processes that combine leads and opportunities. A single sales process works on both sides of the fence, or you can have a sales process specifically for opportunities, and you can have multiple sales processes as well. And yeah, so it's really up to you as to how you want to manage the leads and opportunities, and they are suitable for outbound and inbound marketing. And yeah, so it's entirely up to you how many stages you use. Different sales processes can use different stages. You can assign probabilities to those stages, and yeah, it just gives you some flexibility in that reporting there. And so as you build up your Salesforce automation data, you will then get the ability to report on things like the average days for a lead to qualify to an opportunity, average days to an opportunity to be won, and all those kind of questions you can start answering within the data that's captured within the system. So some of the use cases, you might have a campaign to your existing customers and you just want to drive that entirely within Vision. So the campaign can have leads generated against it. Or if they're existing customers, you might want to make them opportunities straight off the bat because they're known to you. It's going to be a shorter sales cycle because they don't have to trust in who you are because they already know. You could have a campaign to new customers where once the uh, email has been responded to and it looks like it's going to be going ahead, you'd then get that into your Sybiz Vision system and manage the lead from there. But up until then, that lower quality, high volume data stays outside of Vision. It could be yeah, inbound lead development from different sources. It's entirely up to you as to the way you manage that. And yeah, it could be follow-up sales. So you could have a situation where when you create a new customer or when a certain kind of invoice is generated, it'll create a task to be followed up within 2 months. And that task could be assigned to a lead. It just depends on what your flows are. And so I guess one of the other things to just point out as well is that it's important with the CRM system, and it's a little bit of an anomaly where a lot of people will look for CRM systems based on being attracted to features rather than looking at what their business actually needs. And so the churn rate of CRM systems is around about 3 years. Um, so people a lot of times they'll go into it. There'll be a lot of functionality that they don't actually use, and they pay for it, and the system doesn't live up to what they were expecting because they didn't really take enough time to look at what their business needed rather than looking at features that they may or may not use. So again, just a word of warning there, just focus on what your business needs, not what systems can do. Um, so just a little bit more on the sales stages and processes. So you can have multiple different sales processes within the system, depending on the different kinds of sales that you do. Again, entirely optional as to whether you use sales processes or not. You can use them for some sales and not others. It's up to you. So they can be, as I said earlier, for leads and opportunities or just opportunities. And yeah, essentially You can, and I've got one here where my lead needs to be at requirements analysis phase before it's convertible into an opportunity. So if it's just in the qualification or initial contact, I'm not allowed to develop that into an opportunity because I haven't got to the agreement on the requirements analysis in this particular sales process. So um, that's just a little more info there. And so just an example workflow that you could have a outbound email campaign to people that you met at a trade show. So you just bulk send that from a specialized email program with things like spam laws, etc. These days, you're best off using a third-party program that can handle that side of things for you and handle your unsubscribes, etc. And then, yeah, essentially, once you've sent those leads out, you can create a campaign within Vision, and then you just need to determine, okay, what is my trigger to determine that a lead will be created in the system. So again, you don't want to put poor quality, high volume data in your main ERP system. So, and then once you've got that trigger point, you enter the leads into CRM and move through that process. Obviously, if you're just doing them one by one, yeah, there's no point to automate that ingestion of those leads, but there are ways to get multiple leads into the system using the breakpoints functionality for that purpose. Then obviously once your campaign's up and running and it's got to its end date or progressively through, you can keep an eye on it through measuring the results via a myriad of reporting options. Um, so yeah, I'm just going to step through now a lead going to an opportunity and just talk about some of the workflow concepts within the CRM side of things for sales. So uh, essentially this particular lead has been brought into the system based on a campaign. So we've imported those leads and it's gone to someone within our sales team. So it's been assigned to Walter. And this one's on his desk to basically reach out to the person that showed a bit of interest at in one of our recent promotions at a trade show. So now the dust has settled on the trade show, we're going to start going through and calling the people that are in the market for what we're offering. Um, so Walter updates the sorry, this is a lead at this point in time. I was going to say opportunity. The lead at this point in time, just with the note that he's spoken to someone. There's a definite need there. There's some information as to, okay, we need to arrange a meeting. And then someone's gone out and done the requirements analysis, converted it to an opportunity. Um, the person has now changed its assigned to Sal to take the opportunity through to fruition. Um, and so basically people involved can see these notes as it goes, depending on the security that you set up within the system. And yeah, so as the lead progresses, this is one way of doing it, sort of managing it all within the lead itself. And yeah, so you can see the progression, the opportunity stages change as you go through. That's entirely up to you as to how you do that. Another option as well is just to use the leads just as a container, if you like, and then do everything else in separate activities. And again, that's just your choice within your organization, and different teams within the organization could do things differently, but it is advisable to, for a particular workflow within the organization, to pick a method of doing it and make sure that that's what the rest of the team will do. But different teams can use the system in different ways. So another thing that you can do with the opportunities as well is you can generate transactions which will then auto link back to the activity. So the types of transactions that you can do, sales quotes, jobs estimates, and service quotes. And I'll just show you just in the top here, you've got the transaction array. This one here, because I don't have a customer assigned to it, it was going to a or this lead that's now converted into an opportunity. They're not an existing customer yet. I can at any point in the opportunity decide to create a customer record, and once I have a customer record assigned, I do have then the ability to do a sales quote and service quote straight from the opportunity as well. And as I said, once those quotes have been done, they will auto link back to the opportunity, and you'll be able to keep an eye on them from that aspect as well. So um, we'll talk more about the interlinking of information in a moment, but as essentially you can link various different things to each other within the system within CRM, which makes it easy to sort of reflect back on a bunch of things that have happened rather than have to sort of find all these things independently. You can uh, go through the links and check all that out. So that's something we'll explain a little bit more as we go through the relationship management side of things. So not just CRM, it can be for your customers, suppliers, or the company. So you'll see this example here. I don't have a customer specified. I don't have a supplier specified. So it kind of goes, okay, this is something that is relevant to the company itself rather than an external party. So we can do things like have like in this particular example here, it's just someone sort of initiating a process to get a new air conditioning maintenance company organized for their office, and so it's just an internal request, and it's being assigned to various people at various points in time to do what they need to do within that and keep a record within the system, so you don't have to go trawling through emails. And the people involved in this process, particularly if there is a remote workforce, you do get to see that you've got that visibility to see, okay, well, Linda's not in today, but what's actually happened. Don't have to wait for that person to be in to get a verbal indication from them as to where they're at. So again, entirely optional whether you want to manage this kind of thing within CRM, but it is very handy to have that as a single source of truth within your main system with things that relate to your day-to-day business as well. So the case files, they can be thought of as containers, containers of activities, and case files can link to other case files, even though it may not be directly linked to the case file. You can link things like jobs and service items and other case files, and etc. So that's under the other button here. That's where you go to link in other things that may be seemingly unrelated. So it could be a transaction as well. So it could be a sales invoice. So this example that we have here, finding a new air conditioning maintenance company, it could be their quote could be part of what's eventually part of this case file, etc. So you can attach documents as well. So nothing overly surprising there. And again, it's a case of working the way that you want. So you can just work with case files only. And as we have in this example here, we've just added notes to the case file. We don't have any activities associated with the case file. You could just use activities only. So if the case files seemed a bit overkill because most of your stuff sort of just pretty much touch it once and it's done, then activities is probably sufficient for you, or you can use case files with activities. So again, just like the sales example, each of these independent notes within the system here could have been separate activities associated with this case file. Again, the choice is yours. It can be different in different teams within your organization. And certainly that's something we do a little bit different at Sybiz. So our technical support team in dealing with our business partners, they use case files, whereas our business care team dealing with a whole range of other things tend to use activities for their work. Our change request, so if you ask for an enhancement in the software, that actually starts life as a case file within Sybiz, and from that we have activities. We might link it to other case files, etc. So yeah, there's just no wrong or right. It's again going back to what your business needs rather than sort of getting a CRM system and saying, okay, what do how do I use it, or what do I now want to use this for? So think about what you want to use it for before you get into it. So yeah, obviously you've got your customer service use cases, but there's other things you can do. So you can have a case file that's linked to a sales invoice. If there's some sort of dispute or something you want to record information against that, documenting exceptions, etc. You can do that. Supply interactions. So if a customer rings up and says, yeah, they'll get 50 widgets from you, but only if you can do them at a particular price, and that's a price that only your supplier can, or your supplier needs to be involved in that process. So you can record all the interactions against that transaction, and you'll have that body of information there for if anyone needs to review it. Decisions could be, okay, uh, we're creating a new general ledger account, and often we create them on a whim and forget what they're for. So you can have information about what these accounts are created for. You can have decisions around inactivation of records, like who's decided to make that account or that customer or supplier inactive and what was the reason. So that if someone sees it's inactive, they'll be able to know what the decision was and before they go to make it active again. You can use it for approval workflows as well. So it's another thing that we use it internally for, where our external communications, so things like webinar invites, that goes through an approval process that's guided through using a template within a case file. So it can go from marketing through the organization to get the appropriate checks to make sure it's okay for us to send out to the wide world. And we've got that record then of who to blame if we've got a typo that gets through the cracks. So, as I said, case files are generally thought of as a container, so they can be a container of activities and also links to other objects and transactions. So, yeah, if something is going to take multiple interactions and multiple people to get involved in to sort through, then that would be when you'd look at case files as opposed to just individual activities. But yeah, again, there's no wrong or right. It's whatever works for your organization. So as we saw in the little screen grab, they can be standalone just by using the case file as the dumping ground for everything that happens, or you can use activities for each of those things that happens along the way. And yeah, so there's lots of different lookups, etc., that can be used for categorization. It does go quite low level, but you don't have to go down to that level. So it's just a matter of like, from a reporting perspective, what are the kind of things that you want to sort of report on in terms of categorizations and things like that. That may not be important to you, so you can just keep things really simplistic. So again, it's entirely up to you based on what your business needs, not what the possibilities of the software are. So your activities, there's different types for different purposes, and yeah, so they are, I guess, a little bit of a mixed bag. So some of them will basically, or they're designed for what has occurred. So something like a remark, you just make a note about something that's happened. Others are about what needs to be done, and then there's others that are a little bit different. So you could schedule a phone call, or you could just use the phone call activity to record a phone call that's happened. So you've got that distinction there of what needs to be done versus what has been done. And yeah, they can be driven from your transactions. And yeah, so essentially, yeah, you could have something within a lead. When a lead hits a certain stage, it may then auto create tasks associated with that lead to be done within a particular time frame. So there's things that you can do with breakpoints, etc., to really automate that side of things as well. So remarks are the simplest type of activity, and they just let you record something that's happened when and by whom, and you don't have to use all the different types of activities. You can just use remarks. So if you have these verbose emails that you could just succinctly summarize into a single sentence within a remark, don't worry about dumping and pasting the big email in there for other people to sort of sift through and try and work out what the actual point of the email was. Just summarize it into a remark, paraphrase, and use that as your record. From an email perspective, you can compose and send emails from within the CRM. And yeah, essentially, once you start typing an email address, the system will um, pick up who it is for if that email address is known to the system, or you can look up the appropriate contact and email them as well. So there's a couple of different ways you can go about that. You can type the contact's name, and from emails that are received, you can drag them in from Outlook, and CRM will automatically populate those and link what needs to be linked. So there's just an example here where there's just a demo email that's been dragged in. It's found out that the from and to address are known to the system. So it's a little bit of a contrived example, but it just shows you that functionality is there where you can just go, yeah, this is an email that I want to store against this lead or opportunity or case file or just a standalone email. I'm going to drag it into the system. It's not something I want to summarize. I just want to sort of have it in there as is. Then you can just sort of drag it into the system as well. The phone calls can be used for inbound and outbound calls, and they can also be used to schedule a call, as well as obviously record a call that has happened. And this, yeah, one of the reasons you might want to actually use a specific phone call activity is if it's important to record the numbers that are being called as well. So if you just had that in a remark to say that you've tried calling and didn't get an answer, it's like, okay, well, what number did you try calling? Whereas a phone call activity is going to ask you for that information. That's obviously a thing that needs to be part of a phone call activity is what number was used. From a task perspective, yeah, this is basically yeah, very similar to a task that you can create in Outlook or any other kind of system that creates tasks. It's best for like scheduling and assigning something. So a task is more about setting something up that needs to be done at another time. And yeah, you can use them for internal and external reasons. So it could just be um, yeah, you just want to send a task to someone to organize or to check the kitchen supplies on Monday and place an order on Tuesday if need be. So you can do those kind of things internally and externally. And SMSs are relatively recent in terms of being added to Sybiz Vision. So initially they started just as a separate function, but have been brought in to CRM. So you essentially sign up with a range of providers. I think there's about 9 different providers that are supported. So you just buy a pack of messages from them, and yeah, you can then use the CRM SMS activities as well. SMSs can also be sent independent of CRM using breakpoints. So just an example here where there's an internal process where if a purchase invoice is being entered by someone and it's over a particular value, their boss gets an SMS with a code that they need to go, yep, I'm okay with this invoice being processed. I know what it's about. So I'm going to then provide the code for my staff member to input, and that then authorizes them to continue processing that transaction. So just an example of SMSs used via breakpoints. So the kind of things that you can do, you can use case files to record an instance of a meeting. So it could be, yeah, totally internal. It's so you can use the action items recorded as tasks. So things that different people need to do as a result of the meeting can be entered as tasks and assigned to the people, assigned their due dates, etc. And that gives you the visibility for the relevant people to be able to see what's actually gone on with those tasks after the meeting rather than waiting to the next meeting to work out what's been done and what hasn't been done. So if you do use case files in that way, you can link the case file from the previous meeting to that case file. So you've got that ability to drill down into previous meetings and see the evolution of agendas and action items, etc. Or you could use a case file as a rolling meeting agenda. So just if you have like a monthly marketing meeting, so you could just have a marketing meeting case file, and each month just the stuff that's the new tasks that have been generated and the tasks that have been done previously all live under that same case file. So that single case file and the tasks associated with it essentially become a live agenda for that kind of meeting. You can have some fairly elaborate workflows as well. So things like a warranty workflow, the initial communication from the customer with the issue could come in via a phone call or an email. So that gets recorded as a phone call. You may be satisfied to then go, okay, I'm going to authorize the customer to return this item. So I'm going to do a save sales return as my return authorization, send it on to the customer, receive the item back, process the sales return, and then go, okay, yeah, this is something we're going to have to investigate a bit more. So we'll now create a case file, link the phone call and sales return that have already been done, uh, start discussing with the supplier what's involved. That communication, whether that's email or phone call, could be linked to the case file as well. The return authorization um, could be linked to the case file. So every point in this workflow could be recorded within a case file within CRM, all of the documents associated with it. So the uh, return documents, etc., could all be associated with the case file. So you have that complete story, that complete case, if you like. So in 6 months' time, if anyone wants to work out what's happened with that, you've got all of the information there. All of the documents are linked, so you can see that complete story all from one case file. And yeah, just to sort of finish up on some of the functional elements are your defaults. So by setting up your defaults across the board there, so you've got defaults for your case files and your leads and opportunities, and then all of the individual activities can have their own sets of defaults as well. You don't have to use the defaults that extensively. You can force people to make decisions about how they want to categorize, what priorities, what status when they create a new case file, for example. Or you can guide them, and then they can then override if it's an exception to the normal defaults. Um, so it is yeah, as we say in the bullet point, there is that balance of sort of streamlining the input and then making sure you've got accurate information, because the downside of having defaults is people accept them rather than think about them. And templates is another thing that permeates across the CRM as well. So you can use them for case files, opportunities, leads, and then all of the activities. You can use multiple templates. Some of them could be used across the board. Some of them you might want to use for a specific purpose. And they just help in a number of ways. They can be like an email template for a particular type of email where you want a boilerplate to be followed. In the case that we have on screen at the moment, it's just a bit of guidance for something that doesn't happen on a daily basis. So when say a new laptop's bought, it might be sort of 3 months since the last capex, and so there's certain things that you want to do when you bring an asset into the system, certain things that people need to be involved in. And so rather than have to scratch your head and work out what to do each time, you can set up a template to provide that internal guidance to say, okay, this is what needs to happen. So as each person involved in the process does their bit, records what they need to record, sends it on to the next person, you can use templates for that. So there's no again, wrong or right. It could be a guide for gathering information. So if there's certain things when you're, say, qualifying a lead in the initial contact, there might be certain bits of data that you want to collect and certain tick boxes. So you can have a template that guides you to make sure that you do gather that information rather than having to call back 2 minutes afterward to ask something that you forgot to ask. It also promotes consistency, which helps particularly with internal tasks and helps for when other people pick up a task, for example, that someone else has been involved in. If there's that consistency, it's easier for other people to get involved in and follow. And obviously, you don't want to be typing out a whole heap of stuff all the time. So it can automate repetitive text as well. So those are the templates that you can use within CRM. So from an automation perspective as well, so if you have the breakpoints module, you can use that to generate leads. So you might have a particular sort code of customers that you've got a promotion coming up, and you know that based on that sort code, they're the kind of people that are going to be interested in that new line or whatever that you're bringing into the organization. Then you can use breakpoints to generate leads against that sort code for customers. It can generate follow-up tasks. So if you have a situation where you want to get an idea that, or you might have a customer that always pretends that haven't received the invoice, so you might want to go, okay, well, in 3 days' time, I want someone to follow up and give these guys a call after an invoice has been generated. You can set up automation to create that task, assign it to someone based on a certain event. So it's up to you. You can send SMS messages to a manager whenever an opportunity is won, for example. Um, there could be an internal notification when something reaches a particular status, or due dates fall behind. That could then get escalated to someone else through automation. And you can create a series of tasks when a new customer deal is won. There might be certain things that you want to do over the next couple of months as part of your workflows and post customer service that can be set up via automation as well. From a reporting perspective, as I said, you don't really the out of box reports within the CRM side of things isn't the greatest, because you're going to be using your grids and analytics for your CRM data. It's much easier to drill into more dynamic, especially if things are linked. It is much easier to sort of report and query on screen than on paper when you're talking about CRM data. You can author your own custom reports as well for sort of that summary data, where you might want to be having a particular report format for your campaign performance. Then your custom reports that you design for CRM purposes can be incorporated into report sets as well. Custom grids are virtually a given. I wouldn't be wanting to use CRM without custom grids. So one of the grids that I have, the one that I kind of live in, is one that shows me what's on my plate to action. And it doesn't matter whether it's, not that I'm really involved in the sales side of things, but it could be a leader opportunity, could be a case file, could be an activity. And I also like to keep items that I've completed in the last 7 days on my list as well, because sometimes you'll have an afterthought and go, "Oh, I should have just noted that as well." So by seeing those fresh ones there, they're easy to get back to. Sometimes something might be prematurely completed. You might be confident that that's the end of that. You close it off, and then it comes back later. So it's still on my list. I can obviously still get back to it even if it wasn't on my list. And I also have another component where I can monitor what I've delegated. So if I've created a task for someone to do, 99 times out of 100, I know that's going to get done, but it's that one time out of 100 where something sort of falls through the cracks. At least I've still got that on my list, and I can see that there's some more intervention that's required there. So again, personal preferences, no wrong or right. But yeah, if you are going to be using Sybiz Vision CRM, definitely look at the customer reporting and grids, etc., as part of that process. This is just an example of one of the dashboards within CRM. So this is obviously in the sales side of things, just gives a bit of information about a particular promotion, etc. So that's just your open leads dashboard. And then, yeah, as I said, you'll be wanting to do your analytics-based reporting rather than traditional reports within CRM. So this is just a combined pivot that shows leads and opportunities for a particular campaign. And then from there, you can drill down into the information and get to individual leads and check out how they're going, etc., and see what's going on, all from the pivot. So again, you'd be using pivot reporting rather than other forms of reporting. So with that, I'm not sure whether we've had any questions coming through, but I might just open up the mics with the moderators to see if there's anything come through that they haven't been able to handle.
And there was one. Can tasks be automatically sent once a current task has completed? E.g., I am setting up an inventory item, I create an inventory code, and once I mark it as complete, then a task will be generated for the next person to upload the price scale.
Yeah, yeah, you can definitely do that. And the other thing that you can do is just if you know who it needs to go to, you can just assign it to them as you're in the task making your notes. So, yeah, it's up to you. I guess the downside with automation is like sometimes automation gets a bit too rigid for its own good. So if you go, okay, I know that this task has got to go to this person next, um, and you automate that, and then that person's on leave for 2 weeks, like that ship has already sailed. It's on their desk, so you'd have to go and retrieve it and put it back to someone else. So yeah, it's just if you do those reality checks to go, okay, if we tie this up so rigid that it's not going to survive those kind of realities of people being on leave, then maybe um, yeah, just go with that sort of. That could be something that a template would be a good idea for, where it's like, okay, now I've done my bit in setting up the code. I'm going to now assign it to the next person in the chain to do the next step in that process, and they can just follow the template for the bit that they need to do. As with all automation, it's always good to nut down the manual process first before you automate it, because yeah, if you automate it based on theory and you haven't tested that in reality, you're probably going to have to go back to the automation and tweak it. Whereas if you sort of master the process manually, uh, work out what kind of exceptions you're going to need to deal with, then it'll make it easier when you do get to automation. Okay. If that was the only one, when you get the information after this webinar, um, there is a quiz if you wanted to test your knowledge. It is optional, of course, but I know there's a lot of people that do like to sort of see how they went. So that will be available for you. If you are watching the recording and have questions, just get in contact with Sybiz via the website contact form, and we'll go from there. And our next webinar will be on the 11th of September, looking at manufacturing. So, yeah, if that's relevant to you, we hope to see you there. But if not, thank you for coming along today and enjoy the rest of your day. Cheers.